All right, guys. Good morning. This is Top Tier Talk, our weekly team meeting here for March 4th. So, hope you guys had a good weekend, and hopefully, I was kind of thinking about this before we got started here, but hopefully, you view this as a new week for your Prosperity Nexus Group business, right? And you plan to actually work this like a business. And we're going to give you some tips. John's going to share some tips with you that's been working for him on with regards to Craigslist ads, which is what most of you guys are doing. But hopefully, like this meeting is not the only thing that you ever do when it comes to PNG, right? You show up here on Monday or watch the recording, and then the next thing you're going to do is show up next Monday or watch the recording, right? Hopefully, there's stuff you're going to do during the week here, time permitting, if you have a full-time job, to make sure your business is moving in the right direction to allow you to start making the money that will, allow you to accomplish whatever goal it was, that was the reason that you signed up for the business in the first place. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about mindset first, like we've been doing and been getting a lot of really positive feedback about it. And then we'll get into more of the mechanics of marketing and kind of help you with your specifically with your Craigslist marketing. So with that, let's move forward here. And Michael, we'll let you kick this off.
All right. Well, this is another quote from Tony Robbins. We all know who he is, but he says, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And there's other ways to say that same thing. Some people say that's the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same thing. And so you've got to change what you're doing. What Steve was just saying kind of resonates with this too. If all you're doing is coming to the Monday Top Tier Talks and waiting until the next one, that's doing the same thing. And that's insane. You've got a business that will absolutely do for you what you bought it to do in the first place. So if you're not doing anything, do something. And if you're doing something that's not working, then let's figure out a better way to do it. That's something there. Now, this mindset quote really has two applications. One that I just mentioned, and another is it applies to your prospects as well. I talked to a guy this morning that I actually, because I'm using HubSpot now, and it reminded me, I talked to him back in the summer, and he's still looking around, still trying to decide. It's a great prospect, and if he keeps doing what he's been doing, he's not going to benefit from the results of jumping in and taking action and doing something. That's insane. If he'd have jumped in 6 months ago, he could have been light years ahead potentially of where he is now. So, it applies to your prospects. It applies to us. If it's not working, change it up. Do something different. If you're not following up, hey, do it. Try something different. And you do that, then the results are coming your way. So, guys.
Yeah, I mean, when they say insanity, I mean, it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So,
right.
If you're getting the results that you're looking for, or your life or your income or whatever is where you want it to be already, then doing the same thing over and over again is fine. You should do that, I suppose. But
that's why we're here, right? We're doing the same thing and it's working.
Right. But if it's not working,
yep.
If not placing ads is not working for you, right? Which of course it's not, right? Or if the way you're speaking with your prospects, to kind of bring it more down to a micro level, right? The way you're talking to your prospects isn't working, right? You're talking to people, but you're not getting the results that you are hoping to get. Well, then continuing to do the same thing over and over again is not going to help, right? So you need to change things, right? Change it up a little bit, change up what you're saying, change up a few words, change up your message, right? To find something that's going to work for you. So, that's kind of, I think, what I get out of this quote anyway is if what you're doing isn't working to your satisfaction, then you got to change it up, right? Or you'll continue to get the results that you're getting now. Okay, that was my 2 cents. John, you have anything to add there, bud?
Yeah, I do. On a mindset note, yes, the mechanics, this applies to mechanics as well. If you're doing X and X is not working, talk to your sponsor, do some research, find out what you're doing or not doing, because obviously what this quote means is you got to change something. From a higher sort of mindset point of view, which is what this quote is about as well, is that per the concept of the law of attraction, likes attract likes. That's the whole idea. So if the effect is unwanted, meaning like, let's say your goal, the effect that you want is 1 sale a month, or 2 sales a month, or 3 sales a month, and you're not making it, for every effect or situation, per the law of correspondence, and you can look this up if you Google it, it means that you have a similar cause. For example, if you're having trouble with relationships in the real world, then that means mentally inside you have some belief system or thoughts that are negative about relationships, which of course are attracting not so great relationships. So if you have a negative viewpoint or belief system or thoughts about making money, then you're matching that frequency, whereas the frequency you want to match is that I am abundant, I make the money that I need for my lifestyle. That's why affirmations are important, because when you repeat affirmations, affirmations are supposed to be about the ideal. And if you repeat them over and over and over again, eventually you will change other beliefs, and that new belief will go into the thought universe, which will then change the cause. And if the cause changes, then the effect changes. So if you do what you've always done, and you'll get what you've always gotten. Well, if you want to change the manifestation in your business, and your business is not manifesting the income that you want and the success that you want, then we need to change the mindset, and that's your belief system and your thoughts, and there's where affirmations come in. So for example, and we're going to get into Craigslist in a minute, this would be, this may sound like a silly example, but it's apropos. Let's say almost all the prospects that you generate from your Craigslist ad got 2 fatal flaws. They're all broke, and none of them barely show up for the webinar or to view the site, let alone show up for the follow-up Q&A with your VIP. Well, that's an unwanted effect, obviously. That's not going to get you anywhere, right? So there are mechanics that you can do, which we're going to discuss in a second, but mindset-wise, you got to examine your mindset. Are you just agreeing with that? You know, all my prospects are broke, and most of my prospects never show up. Well, with that mindset, that frequency is what you're putting out and attracting. And believe it or not, I've seen this happen. I'll be working with somebody, and I'll take out a Craigslist ad for them to get them started, or they'll give them my template, and they're getting all kinds of problems, and then I'll jump in, and I have a different mindset. My mindset is this Craigslist ad works, it attracts the kind of people that I like, and they show up, which is like an affirmation, statement of what I want. And of course, the same ad I took out for them is working for me. Now, why is that? You could say it's completely a lucky thing, and I won't argue with that. But from my years of experience, I personally have experienced that it's not luck. So mindset, which is the way you think, your thoughts, the frequency, what you expect to get, has to be very strong, so it tends to attract what you want as compared to the opposite. So you could take a look at this quote. If you're always getting the same results with Craigslist and the same type of people and the same type of no-shows, yes, examine your mechanics, which we're going to do in a minute. But first of all, examine your thoughts. Are your thoughts agreeing with that? I don't know why I keep doing these Craigslist things. They don't work. Or Well, if you keep putting that out there, that frequency will draw more of the same. Now, you don't have to believe that, but if you go deep into mindset study, you will find that to be a very common thread, and I've experienced that. I think it's very true. So anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Awesome. That was good stuff. And I think that's kind of brings us back around to let you share your screen, John, if you want to.
Okay. I will do that.
I think I have to unshare first. Hold on. Yep.
So I can share now?
Wait, stop sharing. Now you can.
All right, good. Share. Okay, let me go to. All right, can you see that screen?
No.
Well, that's weird.
Can you, Michael?
I went to share.
You're
Hold
muted,
on.
Michael.
Yep, I was muted. I can't see it.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let me go back. Hit share again. And now hit share. What about
Okay.
now?
Yeah,
Huh?
now we can.
Okay. Now this is just a static shot to go through the process. We're actually going to talk about step 3, but this sales funnel is what many people are using, which is you either have an 800 link message or you have the appointment funnel through Schedule Once, or both. I tend to use both to give the prospect the option. And then step 2, once you interview them, you call prospect for the interview, and then you do your interview. And during your interview, part of making people show up for the follow-up Q&A is to make sure you establish why they're looking and what situation is not ideal, which is why they're looking. Well, I need to have some money pretty quickly in a year here because my kids are going to college, or I'm retired and I'm bored, I need something to do, or I'm a college grad with a $90,000 student loan and I can't get a job and I need to make money. I'm a stay-at-home mom, I need to be with my family. It's up to you to have a nice casual conversation to get that, let the prospect talk about that why, and then you sort of jot it down so you know what it is. Now here comes the part that's very important, to have people not only show up to review the opportunity, but show up for the follow-up Q&A, because if you don't have follow-up Q&As, nobody's going to get off of $2,000 upwards. This is not a lotion and potion MLM where somebody can pay $89 without even talking to a human being. So that interview where you establish the why is important. And before you hang up, you now, at least the way I teach it, some people don't. I'll call you in a few days. I don't do. I always book the appointment. And the way I do it is this. I'll say, well, listen, Dave, it's really great talking with you. And I repeat their why again. I totally understand your situation about the student loan, $90,000 in debt. But this business can definitely help you. So make sure when you get that email that I sent you, make sure you click on the link, put your information in, and review all 5 steps in order. Write down all your questions. Just remember, you're showing up to take a look at this so you can find the solution to your, and I'll state their why, $90,000 student loan. So just remember that, because if you don't show up, we can't show you a solution to your situation. Understood? And they usually say, yeah. All right, well, the next thing is you're not going to want to chase me down. I'm not going to want to chase you down. So let's make an appointment. It's no obligations. What's a good time in a couple days? Takes about an hour and a half to review this, that you'll be available to get all your questions answered. And then I usually book that. He might say, well, I'm out of town. I can do it. Today is Monday. How about Thursday morning? And I learned this little trick. I'll say, what time? And he says 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And well, that's too early for me. I always never agree to the first one they say. If he says 2 o'clock in the afternoon, well, how about 2:30? How about 2:15? It's a little trick I learned from an MLM guru, because you don't want to sound or look like you're desperate. So no matter what time the prospect says, you're like, oh yeah, okay. You don't want to be like a dog with his tail wagging, like, okay, that's great. You just, well, I'm kind of busy then. How about, and usually you can book it. So now once it's booked, here's the crucial part to get people to show. There's a couple buttons that prospects have when they go to view our opportunity. Number one, it's too good to be true, therefore it's probably not true and it's a scam. Number two, oh my God, I didn't know it was this much money, because I usually tell people it's going to cost money, but I never usually, unless they directly ask me, tell them how much it's going to cost. But I don't want to get into that now. I'll just tell them it's not a job, and there's definitely some startup resources, but those that investment can be recouped in a week or two or a little longer. And that usually satisfies most of them. So they arrive, they either think it's too good to be true, or they go, oh my God, $2,000. That may think it's a scam to them, or they may be so embarrassed because they're so broke that they won't even be professional and even show up at all and have the courtesy to tell you. So here's how I handle that. I say, well, listen, Dave, you're booked for 2:45 your time, Central Time. Are you writing that down now? Yeah, I'm putting it down. All right, good. Now I know I'm going to be there, but are you going to be there? Well, I'll be there. Okay, so listen, here's our agreement. If you can't make it and or I can't make it, I always do both sides, so I'm not beating them up. I will let you know and have the courtesy and professionalism. And if you can't make it for any reason or you need to reschedule, you will do that too. Is that agreed? And they usually say, yeah. And you can tell the type of person, if he's a real pro, he'll go, oh yeah, I don't like when people not show up either. No, I'm not that type of guy, blah, blah, blah. If he doesn't say that, you don't know if he's going to show. So the next point is very important, which I say, now look at, when you look at this, don't be embarrassed if you don't have the startup expenses. A, we have funding, and B, many people are in situations that are tough right now. That's just life, right? Yeah, well, don't worry about it. My job on Thursday at 2:45 is not to take any money. I simply want to finish the education and orientation so you can see why this particular business could be a solution for your situation. So if you think about canceling, A, make sure that you let me know and have the courtesy to do that like I will. But if I were you, I wouldn't not show or even cancel, because I've had people look at this business and they were glad they showed up and they didn't have the money, but 6 months later, they got the money and they came in and they're doing very well. So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Is that clear? Now, those two things, consult the prospect's integrity, because now for him to not show up, he's got to really diss you because we've had this conversation. Plus, when he goes to the thing and sees that it's $2,000 and above, I've already had a conversation with him to not be embarrassed about showing up if he didn't have the money. So I've made him safe to still show up. And I've already told him that I thought this was a little too good to be true, and he might think it's that way. So when those two buttons come up, we've already discussed that. That's not going to solve 100% of your prospects, but because I do it in this manner, I get about 7 out of 10 that show up. I'm not talking about closing the sales, but they at least go to the opportunity, review it, and they show up. And if you can't get these people to show up for the Q&A, you're not going to make any sales. So that's how I book the follow-up and what I tell the prospect. Now, that may seem like a lot, and I've had some people go, oh, if I do all that, they're going to hang up on me, or they're, well, hey, what is the difference? They're not going to show anyway. You might as well find out in advance if this is too much organization for them and they hung up on you. That's actually a good thing because you didn't waste your time and get upset and all that kind of stuff. So again, those two buttons are, it's too good to be true, and I don't have the money, so I'm probably not going to show up. So if you have a quick discussion with that, and you also tell them that you're going to show up and he should have the courtesy to reschedule, that's 3 things you've discussed which are going to make your percentages of prospects showing up a lot higher from my experience. Guys, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, hopefully this was helpful for everybody, because I know that nobody on the team has a show rate like John does. That includes me. Okay. So yeah, doing this, and And I'm going to ask John to add this to our script. You know, at the bottom of the script, you can do that, right, John?
At the bottom. Oh, you mean the regular PDF script we have online?
Yeah, the script, so that everybody can kind of have that. At
Yeah,
least
I
guide.
can,
You know, use your own words, of course, not not
right.
John's words or my words or anybody's, but so then you can kind of have that guide there, because improving your show rate to the Q&As will obviously improve your conversion rate and put more money in your bank account, which is what we're all looking for.
Yeah, just think of how many sales and you'll never know, you've lost because they haven't showed up. And not all my sales are in the 24 to 48 hour bonus range. We just had a girl last week that came in that was 3 months ago, and she was totally embarrassed about not having any money and being down and out, and I made it safe for her to show up. So we completed the Q&A, and I've been in touch with her for a while, by text. Hey, how's the fundraising going? And I established some good rapport. Now imagine if I didn't say anything about don't be embarrassed and don't worry if you don't have the money, she wouldn't have shown up. And if I would have texted her, hey, how's it going, and just wanted to check in, I wouldn't even have that line to do that. But because I made it safe and because she showed up, we actually had a nice 20-minute Q&A session. So she felt really good about the business and the opportunity. So she left that Q&A with I'm going to go make this go right. And I can't tell you how many sales I've got that are down the line. I think Steve and Michael can vouch for that. So some of our sales, could be a year and a half later. I think, Steve, you had one guy that was 2 years or something, right?
I had one that was 7 years. I haven't even been in this business 7 years, but he had been on my list for 7 years, and it was the timing was right. But obviously that's not normal, but months or even a year and a half is normal. That's why we talk about building your pipeline, because then when you have these people in your pipeline, you'll get these sales, months later or whatever, as you're continuing to add to your pipeline as well. Gerard has a good question. When you mention there's a cost, don't they always ask what the cost is?
Well, in my opinion, no. And I don't even know why. Maybe it's because I'm controlling the line good. But the way I do it is I don't leave a space after that. So, for example, let's say it's Gerard I'm talking to. And I say, now, Gerard, before we go any further, I understand that you're on Craigslist and you're probably looking for a job. I just want to let you know, and if you recall on the website, it says this is not a job and this is an opportunity. So I just want to let you know that since this is an opportunity, there are some startup one-time expenses involved in this, but I think you'd agree if I could show you something that could make $100,000, $200,000 a year working from home part-time, that a small startup investment that could be recouped in a few weeks would be probably worth it. Wouldn't you agree? And so the way I worded it, they usually always answer yes to that. Every once in a while, I'll get a really sharp guy, and I go, well, that's not going to work for me, John. That's a red flag. I need to know how much. And then you know what I do? I say 22 grand. Because I can tell this guy's going to be a problem, and I don't really care about him at this point because he usually says it with an attitude and a red flag. And I go, why? No, maybe I don't do 22 sometime. Well, it's going to be around $6,500. Is why? Is money a problem? I'm almost throwing the potato back in his lap. So, Gerard, most of the time I don't get that. And if I do, and they say it nicely, well, I really was looking for a job and I don't really have a pot to pee in. Then that's when I say, well, you know what? Don't worry about the money at all. Just view the opportunity. And we also have funding, and I wouldn't be embarrassed about it. And that usually does it as well.
Yeah, Gerard tacked on to his question. He said, towards the end, when you're talking about, show up, don't be embarrassed. If you don't have the money, that could make them go, well, wait a minute. Well, how much money is this that I'm going to be embarrassed about,
Well, that never happens to me at that point. The only time it ever happens to me is when I do the disclaimer, because I don't want to be charged with a bait and switch, because it'll be a bait and switch if they're looking for a job and you never say there's some startup expenses and they go there. They can report you and be very upset because that's a bait and switch and they're looking for a job. But at the end, I don't usually give them a space to do that. Say, now look, we got you booked for 2:45 on Thursday. This may have a little too good to be true. It did for me, but trust me, it is true. It is the real deal. And you just need to show up to get your questions answered. And hey, you told me that you're doing very well financially. Don't worry about the amount of money. If you don't have it, we do have financing, but let's just get your questions answered. And then I don't stop. If I stop right there, that may get them to think, but then I just go, okay, well, listen, you're booked for 2:40. In other words, I just keep moving on so they don't really have a chance to bother me with that question.
Yeah, I think what John's talking about is controlling the conversation. And that's a big part even of your initial call when you, call a lead that scheduled the appointment or left you an 800 link number, whatever the case is. Because some people get hit with questions on those calls, and it's the only time that will ever happen, unless you get the random jerk or whatever. But, for the most part, the only time that'll happen is if you're not controlling the conversation, which is why, there's two different schools of thought on this, I suppose. But I'm a big believer in using a script, especially when you're new, because that helps you control the conversation, because you're just going to keep going on and reading the script, not sounding like you're reading it, of course. But if you know what you're going to say, you're not going to hem and haw, lose control of the conversation. And that's when you start to get hit with crazy questions.
Agreed.
Anybody else have any questions? This was good stuff, because like I said, I know a lot of people, that is, part of the struggle for a lot of people is, yeah, it's one thing. You can generate leads, fairly easy to do that, particularly with our sales funnels. But, it's then getting those people to show up to the second call.
Yeah, and I thought of one thing about the thing that I just thought about that I do about the money. I go, now there are some startup expenses one time that are usually recouped in a few weeks. But don't worry about that now. The purpose now is to just find out why you're looking, whatever. All the costs and things will be explained pretty much in the webinar. So if it's okay, just write all your questions down about that, but all the costs with this business opportunity are going to be explained when you go there. And that keeps them from usually asking, because in a sense I've answered their question. They may have wanted to ask me, but I just said, yeah, we're not going to discuss that now, but it's going to be all explained in the webinar. It's almost like what was that great line in Star Wars? They're trying to get into that club and these are not the droids you're looking for. The idea was it's almost a command, like, don't bother these guys. But instead of saying it with an attitude, you're saying it as a matter of fact. So yeah, you probably have attention on, since I told you, but all that's going to be done in the webinar, okay? And it's like they just go with you because you expect that.
Well, yeah, that's the same reason that right up front in the initial callback script, it says, let me confirm your email address, because I'm going to send you a link to our website afterwards that's going to explain everything that you need to know.
Yeah, and if they do ask you, Gerard, or anybody that's listening, you also could, and like I said, if the guy has an attitude, then I may play with him. But if he does it nicely, say, yeah, you sound like me. You want to really know up in front about what's happening, but the costs and how the business works and the income projections and how it's going to solve you making the money to pay off your student loan, all of that's going to be handled in the video. So is it okay if we just move on for now? And is it okay or would it be okay is a great rejection-free question. So is it okay if we move on now and you'll get all your questions answered at the video presentation and when we have our follow-up Q&A? Is that okay? And you do it like that, most everybody, unless they're a complete you-know-what, will say yes. And even if they want to ask you, sometimes they'll say yes.
Yeah, good stuff. Does anybody else have anything? So this is obviously really important stuff. You know, we all deal with this on a, you know, regular basis, assuming you're placing ads.
Yeah.
Well, even on appointments, if you're sending them directly there, at some point, you might have to have that Q&A, because unless they just call you and say, I'm in.
That would be great.
It's only happened once to me, but I know, Steve, you're better at that than me.
That's why they come in 7 years later. They finally got all their questions answered. All right. Well, we got Dr. John, exceptional topic. Thanks. Benny, I give the lead an expectation regarding the cost with my Schedule Once questions. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, if you customize your schedule once, that's good too.
You can do that. Put it up front. Weed out the really broke people if you don't want to. You know, if you don't want to talk to them. I mean, hey, you know, whether you're generating leads on Craigslist, whether you're using our lead warehouse, whether you're generating leads on the internet, I don't care where you're generating these. A lead is still just a person, and you know what you'll find in this industry is there's a lot of broke people out there. There's a lot of people that are down on their luck for whatever reason. And, you know, so it's not, you know, it's not the lead source. It's not the business. It's not you, you know, there's just a lot of people that are just not in a position to really help themselves very much.
Yeah, and part of establishing rapport is making the prospect, when he hangs up the phone, if he feels good about what just happened, he's going to show most likely. And so part of making him feel good is finding his why and letting him talk about himself and acknowledging the situation without being condescending. And then if you're making it safe for him, you're kind of saying, hey, I know things are tough out there, but the whole purpose of our mastermind entrepreneurial group is to help people like you change their lifestyle around. So make sure you thoroughly review this thing. And our appointment is on Thursday. And remember, don't worry at all if you don't have any money and this and that and that. We've had people come into this business a year later. I just had a guy come in last year. I remember he didn't have any money, and it took him 7 months, and he got a tax return back. And he called me up out of the blue. And this is a true story. He says, hey, I got my tax return. And I convinced my wife to let me take part of it to come into the business. Now, if I hadn't established rapport with him, I wouldn't have had that sale. I know I wouldn't.
Well, he wouldn't have called you. Gerard asks, I'm new. What are Schedule Once questions? Gerard, you know, get with your sponsor. I guess Schedule Once is the appointment scheduling third-party service that we use. And you can you know, tailor make your booking form so that you can ask whatever questions.
Yeah, I'll show you a little later, Gerard. Usually I start people off with the 800 link, and then it costs a little extra money. I knew things were tight, but it does cost a little extra money a month to use that. But all it is, you'll have a button. Besides the 800 link, you'll have a little button on your Craigslist ad, and they can actually click a button and make an appointment with you. And then you'll wake up, you go to your Google Calendar, and you'll see you'll have Joe Blow book the time at 11:15. So that's how I'll show you how that works.
Oh, sorry about that.
Wow.
Man, that's a loud ring.
That was loud. Gerard's probably asking now, how much does the Schedule Once actually cost? Gerard, that'll be handled on the John's Q&A with you later. Right? No, it's $19 a month. That was a poor attempt at a joke, I guess. All righty. Well, if we don't have anything else, this was good. And I see John's brought up another slide, which I think would be a good training maybe for next week. We'll talk about it, but
that was by accident.
Well, I think it's good. I think you know,
it's not Netto more. It's prosperitynexus.biz now.
Right. So you have to change that. But yeah, doing follow-up Q&As with Zoom. You know, so for those of you who are, you know, at that point, and this week, if you don't have one already, you can get a free Zoom account. You know, it's not going to cost you anything. We pay for ours because it's we need it for the webinar, but you can have a free Zoom account.
And what Steve means is you can then do a screen share with your prospects, and you could take them on a quick tour. You could go into the training site, show them that we have templates and this and that. You can go into your marketing system and show them a little bit about this and that. And if you've, it works better if you're already, have made some income and stuff like that. I wouldn't advise doing screen shares immediately if you're brand new.
Well,
although you still could.
Well, I kind of disagree actually, because you can set up your, like your Titan back office and make sure you're clicked on the products tab so that they're not seeing any income or whatever.
That's true.
They're not going to ask you because they're not going to know that it's going to show. And, showing people makes everything seem more real, right? In my opinion, if they can see something that looks tangible, right? Looks like it's something, right? They're getting something. And you show them the training site and you show them how much stuff is there, and you show them the marketing system where they're going to get their own websites and be able to track their leads. And, it's not some esoteric hypothetical thing anymore, kind of floating around out there. It's real. They're seeing it. And, that's really, really powerful. It's one thing to tell somebody something, but it's another thing to show them. And, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's true. Most people, I think, are visual.
Yeah, the one thing that was very powerful in a couple of my screen shares was, like you just said, Steve, I went to, say, the $2,000 package. And now maybe I could show this right now. This might be very valuable.
Like what does that mean on the phone? It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, now watch this. I'm going to log into my Titan and go to the products. This is something anybody can do. And for people that have their attention on the products, it's like Titan for the last year has been very slow.
Yep.
Going to any page.
It is slow.
All right, so if I go to products, click on the 2000. Can anybody see the screen?
Yeah.
You can see the screen, right? So yeah. You got a prospect on the phone, and I go, these are all in courses. For example, look at the basic package. You've got 20 videos on this is what I say. You got 20 videos on marketing, social media, law of attraction, self-esteem, making money, list building. And you got 60 videos. And watch this. If you hit view now, they're in course form. So they're in sequence, and they are. So if you click video 1 for them, and I may let this play for a second. I may even jump ahead.
As a result of that, to run from home and generate significant income, you don't have to,
and I might go ahead,
worry about whether or not Google is going to slap you. You're not.
And then I'll say, you see that? That's a whole course. And we go to video 2, and the guy continues on this.
Upsells.
He's talking about upsells. And then all of a sudden they get the idea, oh, this is a whole course of educational material that could help me. And then I might go to the one, maybe I'll go to products again. Maybe I'll go to the advanced one really quick. I only spend about 5 minutes on this, and I'll say, look at Facebook traffic, hashtag Twitter traffic modules, WordPress, 40 videos. What I'm doing is I'm impressing them there, so they actually now see, oh, there is value to this thing. And then I may even go into prosperitynexus.com and go into the top tier section and show them we've got 5 years of products. And that whole thing is almost 6 or 7 minutes, and boy, they actually now feel like they're buying something.
I think it's also important to show the view agreement button. John doesn't think so as much, but if you click that, there's the legal reseller license. So if anybody is thinking, if they're like, well, okay, this kind of looks good, but is it legal? Well, this shows them in black and white, or in pink and red, or whatever the color is, that it's legal. That you're getting a license agreement with this. So, I think doing it just makes everything seem more real to the prospect.
Yeah, and then if you have made a good amount of money, then you can show them your main page. Your main page on the right-hand side does show payments received. So that, of course, is impressive, but obviously, like Steve said, don't show them that page if you're just brand new or you've only made one sale, because that can turn off a prospect. So, but there's a lot of things to show, and then you can go to your prosperitynexus.com, go to the top tier section, and that shows that we've got a whole bunch of other educational materials up to 5 years, and that's impressive too.
Yep, and then the marketing system showing the websites and everything, and the autoresponder, and
Yeah, you can practice this on your own. Just open up a Zoom account and go to those different tabs and get familiar. And you should be familiar with them anyway. If anybody's on the line, you should have already, and if you haven't, you should do it. Go to every menu and submenu in especially your training site so you can see everything that's there, because there's in fact, that's what impressed me about Prosperity Nexus and why I went with Prosperity Nexus and other businesses, because I'm a real sponge. And when I joined, I went to that. I remember calling Steve up. I said, Steve, my God, you guys got everything back here. And I was impressed because I'd never seen that much material available for brand new people. But problem is people are spending $24.95 a month. They don't even know what's there.
Yeah, and hey, with the stuff that's on the marketing, on the training site, if you don't want to, you don't have to go through it all. But it's important that you know that it's all there, because then some of the value that you can tell your prospect that they're going to get as a member of the team.
Yeah, and that makes you feel more confident as well.
I think we're going to change this background color now that the header's changed. Huh?
Yeah, so you can go top tier and say, look at this, guys. Let's say the guy's name's Dave. Hey, Dave, see, 2019, every week we have something. If we went to 2018, here's our training that was December 17, 2018 on Quit Trying to Sell. The one-up compensation plan explained, the fortunes in the follow-up. As you can see, it goes on forever. I mean, there's hundreds of hours of material in there. Our calendar section shows our weekly training and our live team events and things like that. And I might say, as far as advertising resources, you asked about how to generate leads. All that's written up here, Dave. Here's our Craigslist training. You go here right now. There's a video on how to do Craigslist ads. And we even have a place that helps you start your own business in a sequential organ. I don't dwell on these. I'm just kind of like showing them everything. Here's our callback script and when you get started. So as you can see, when you come aboard, you're going to own your own business, Dave, but you're not going to be by yourself. Now, I know if I'm on the other end of this and somebody's doing this, in my mind, I'm going, wow, this is the real deal. These guys aren't kidding around.
Yep. And yeah. All right. This went a little longer. I thought that would have been a good topic for next week, but we pretty much covered it. So yeah, if you're taking the business seriously, get a free Zoom account. Your sponsor can help you as far as maybe doing your first, or do it together with your sponsor, a screen share. Good way to, give you kind of a leg up on closing sales. All righty. Well, good. So hopefully everybody has a good week. I don't see any more questions. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys. Take care.
All right.